All right. Well, thanks and welcome to. I think recognize some names from last night who made the orientation. Um, Actually, I have a recording of that. If you want to, I can put the link in the Slack channel later if you're interested in that. But we're going to really just talk about Data 606 this afternoon. And for those who are watching this later, feel free to reach out with questions on Slack as you join Slack. And so we're going to do some statistics this semester. And so here's our agenda for this afternoon. We should be probably about maybe no more than a half hour or so. We're going to just do some introductions. We'll go over the syllabus and what the class meetups are going to work, the schedule, talk about how you're graded, and a little bit about the software. But hopefully a lot of you came through the bridge workshop, and that's going to be hopefully not too difficult. So I am Jason. So there are two sections. So there are two instructors. Angela will have a minute. I'll go first. So I'm an assistant professor, a tenure track in the School of Professional Studies. I've been teaching in SPS in the data science program for about 8 years now, but I was hired as a full-time faculty member during COVID. So I'm really excited to be a part of the program. Sort of my other part of my responsibility is I am the PI of a Department of Ed grant. So we got $3.8 million last year to test DAX. And I'll talk about DAX in a little bit because you're going to complete the self-regulated learning assessment as sort of one of your first assignments. So DAX well, I'll just say in short, DAX is sort of a diagnostic assessment and feedback system for students entering college. So we assess self-regulated learning, reading, writing, and math, and it's really designed for undergraduates, but I think the self-regulated learning assessment will be valuable even for graduate students. It'll take you about 10 minutes to complete and spend a little bit of time looking at the feedback, and hopefully we're going to use the data in aggregate in the course. So I think that would be kind of interesting. I've authored over a dozen R packages over the years. I've been an R user for, I think, 15 years now. Some of the more popular ones I've done is like the Likert package, which is for analyzing and visualizing Likert type data. We'll actually show that in like week 2, I think. SQL utils, if you deal with SQL databases, it's kind of a way of interfacing with SQL databases from R. Timeline is kind of popular, which is kind of like a weekend project kind of throwaway, but people seem to use it if you want to create timeline figures. But from a statistics point of view, I do a lot of research related to propensity score methods, which is a way of, quasi-experimental design to estimate causality from observational data. And we'll talk about that on Wednesday, kind of some basics of causality and research design. And so I've made a number of extensions for, doing this kind of analysis of multi-level data, or if you need to do matching with 3 groups, typically, it's you do 2 groups, but if you have a third, like 2 interventions in 1 control, something like that. And then PSA boot is a bootstrapping, and we will definitely talk about bootstrapping during the course. And I had, prior to joining CUNY full-time, I worked for Cornell on a project through the New York State Department of Education, where I developed a sort of a dashboard in Shiny, in R Shiny, for this Office of Special Education to look at the performance of school districts across New York State in order to meet compliance with IDEA requirements. So that was kind of a cool little project I worked on. Personally, I'm a dad of 3 boys, which keeps me quite busy in the house, a lot of energy. I'm also a pretty avid runner. I've done 7 marathons in the last 4 years or so. Last marathon just 2 weeks ago, where I completed something called a Dopey Challenge in Disney, where I ran a 5K, 10K, half, and full. I have done the New York City Marathon. Fingers crossed, I'm entering the lottery. I would like to run again this year. And I'm also a photographer. And so Angela and I are both based in Albany, so I like to throw this in. So this is just 2 miles from my house, which is the Capitol. If you haven't been to the Capitol, it's kind of a nice place. So I'm going to pass it off to Angela, who is going to be the other instructor.
So my name is Angela Louie, and just a little bit about where I come from academically. I am based, as you can see from here, aside from Rutgers, I'm a native New Yorker. My undergrad was in New York, in NYU, and then I went to Hunter for my master's. University at Albany. I graduated there with my PhD in 2020 in educational psychology and methodology, where I learned a lot of my stats. And so my stats work is primarily in the context of research and education. And now I am at the CUNY School of Professional Studies as an adjunct, but also as a project manager for DAX, on which Jason is the PI. And then in terms of teaching experience, it's a whole slew of topics in educational psychology and including introduction in stats, to stats and social sciences. And then there's also issues in testing, that's measurement, in which stats plays a big part in evaluation as well. And then more theoretical, including motivation, introduction to psychological processes of schooling, which is essentially educational psychology, and then adolescent development. And on a personal component, I am a house owner. As of last year, I own a house with a yellow door in Albany, but I like to be, this is on the right, is a house that I call home. It's where my mentor lives, and I go there to visit a lot. And it's wonderful. It's a farm. It's where I've learned how to take care of chickens and take care of a cat. And so, yeah, I love it there. But I live in the house with a yellow door.
And what she's not, another piece that I think you guys are going to find really valuable and really happy that Angela kind of joined to co-teach this course with me is like her research on feedback, I think is fantastic. And she's really great at that. So as you progress, you're going to find her really valuable.
Thanks, Jason.
So in terms of the course, so the course website, so you probably got here maybe through Blackboard. So Blackboard is going to be used for really just for course or assignment submissions. So think of that as where you're going to submit assignments. The syllabus and all the course content is going to be on the course website, which is data606.net. If you do, just real quick, just so you're aware, if you type data606.net, you'll get to the spring 2022 version, and that will be true through the summer. But then eventually, come fall semester, I changed the redirection, but you can always type spring 2022.data606.net, and the course site will stay live for the foreseeable future. But at the last semester, I show you how you can kind of capture all the course content as the website fills out as we progress through. So I really, really strongly recommend everybody. I'll highlight some pieces, but you can, I would go through read all the pages under syllabus and assignments. And then as we progress through the semester, we have pages for essentially each chapter that we're going to go through. So the course kind of aligned to the open intro textbook. So read this. There's lots of information. There's also, accessibility and accommodations, online etiquette, academic integrity. These are kind of common things that you should know as being new students at SPS. Grade distributions, and we'll talk about grading stuff at the moment. You made it here and saw the video, so you probably found this page. This is where this is the meetup link here. Just be aware, I'm happy if you guys have videos on. But I'm going to record these and post these. So, I just want to make sure you're aware of that. It is great to see faces though, as we talk to people, but don't feel obligated, especially on those Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. If you see me turn the video off, it's generally because one of those 3 kids is running behind me, even though I tell them not to come in when I've got the door closed. So I understand we're all adults, have complicated lives. So we said this last night, Anna and I. Another big piece is, if you can attend the meetups live, I think you'll get a lot of value out of them. But I understand you might not be able to make them, but we do expect you to watch the recordings if you can't make it live. We provide a lot of valuable information that might not be conveyed somewhere else. So, we'll go over when it comes time to the midterm or something, we'll give some tips on what you should be reviewing and things like that. But we'll do in the meetup that might not be in written form somewhere else. So really, really critical that you watch the videos if you can't attend live. But if you attend live, throw questions in the chat. You can do that now.
Yeah.
You can raise your hand. I don't mind being interrupted if we say something that's not clear. It's better to clarify it, in the moment. And if you have the question, you have to believe probably some of your fellow students have the same question. So, it's great if you do that. So the meetups page, if you go to the schedule, you can kind of see how things are kind of laid out. So today's obviously the first day. So you should start. I'll talk about what you should be getting started, but the first set of assignments are going to be due on February 6th. And so each of these, you can see on Wednesdays, we have each meetup. So you can see we're going to roughly do a chapter per week. There will be a few instances where we will take 2 weeks to cover a topic. Like chapter 5 is really meaty. So we're going to have 2 separate lectures on that. You can see where the midterm will be in March, and then we have a final exam. Those are, work on your own, kind of, take home. Of course, there is no campus. We're not making you come to campus to take the midterm, especially in COVID, but you have about a week to do it. And that'll be available on Blackboard. So let me see, going back here, just a few other tidbits. I'll happily go into detail about this later, but this entire course website, you can see all the source code on GitHub here. It's built using the Blogdown package, which is an R package. So I try to use R in as many ways of this course as possible. Like this slide deck was built using R Markdown. So, okay, in terms of homework, you could check out the software page. So you're going to need to get R and RStudio installed if you don't already. You're going to start working on labs, and the ideal situation is to submit PDFs from the lab. So you're going to write in R Markdown, and then you can knit that to, typically it knits to an HTML file, but I've tried to configure it so it should knit to a PDF. But in order to get to PDF, you have to have something called LaTeX installed. So this is where there might be some difficulty. So if you run these 2 commands, probably 98% of you will be fine. But inevitably, somebody has some configuration issue where it might be an issue. So if you do, reach out on Slack and we'll help kind of debug it. Big part of data science is going to be debugging software. So get used to that if not already. All right, PDFs, talked about that. Meetups, I think I already really kind of talked about this. We really expect everyone to attend. So starting Wednesday, kind of one way we track it is we're going to ask you to complete these 1-minute papers, which is really just a Google form. So you'll complete it each week. Oh no, okay. I think I have the right link on the website. Darn it. I always miss it somewhere, but if we go to this link, I checked this earlier. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. So use the link on the meetup page. And I also put it in the chat at the end of the lectures. So it's really two questions, although we may add a third before Wednesday. We were talking earlier, but it's like, what's something important you learned during this class and what important questions you have remaining. So this is for us to check in on your understanding. So if you don't want to ask questions during the meetups or you're feeling shy in Slack, you can always email us directly, but also throw them in these 1-minute papers. And then we actually do a quick summary of these each week, so you can kind of see where you are in terms of other student understanding. So we really do look at these, and I think they're valuable.
And if you're not able to go to the synchronous meetups and watch the videos, do those 1-minute notes papers as well.
Okay, so here's the schedule from the slide deck. So important dates to remember, right? So March 9th to 15th will be midterm, and then May 11th to May 15th will be the final exam. As we get closer to that, we'll talk about the format of those exams and what will be covered. So we're going to use really the one on the left. This Open Intro book is going to be our primary textbook for the course. And so you can download a PDF for free off the course website, or you can go to the Open Intro website. As I mentioned last night, you can get a paper version from Amazon, relatively inexpensive. I think it's less than $25 for the color version, somewhere in that neighborhood. So if you prefer that format, this book on the right by Daniel Navarro, you can use this as a supplement. I think she's a fantastic writer and explains things really well. So if you read something in the Open Intro, it's like, I read the chi-squared section and I didn't quite get it. You go over to Navarro and look up chi-squared over there and just have a different perspective. But there's a chapter in Navarro on Bayesian analysis, which will be the last topic we do in the course. There's no Bayesian in the Open Intro book. So that last chapter is really kind of all we need. And again, it's a PDF that you can download. So but it also gives you two perspectives. All right, so how are you going to be graded? So 10% of your grade is going to be participation. So we want you to, if you go to the participation tab, so 1 minute papers is going to be part of it. You know, asking questions and answering questions in Slack will be part of it. But also there's another formative assessment, and I'll put the link in just a moment. I think it's on the next slide. There's kind of a supplemental survey that we want you to complete that just kind of asks you a little bit about your prior statistical and mathematical background. Again, that'll help us do that. The bulk of your work, at least until the midterm, will be labs. So each chapter has a lab. Chapter 5, I think, is in 2 parts though. So if you go to the labs page, right, they're all here. So you could click these and see the PDF. So this is the first one you should start working on, which is sort of just an introduction to R&R Studio. So hopefully it's not too bad if you've already started doing that through the Bridge workshop. They'll build rather quickly. You can click the template. So you could do this through, you can just download this R Markdown file, and you could just submit this. And as you go through it, just type your answers in here as appropriate. And then you can knit this to a PDF and submit the whole thing as you go through. So the labs is a big piece. There'll be a data project. So you're going to have to select a data set of your choosing and analyze it using one of the statistical methods you're going to learn this semester, and develop about a 10-minute presentation. So towards the end of the semester, we'll set up a spreadsheet with a bunch of time slots with about 8 slots per session. So I think last semester we had 6 90-minute sessions, and in each 90-minute session, there are 8 presentations. So you're going to go with up to 7 other students. You're going to give your talk, and then you're going to hear 7 other students give their talks on their analysis. So it's a great way to kind of get see what other students are doing and analyze a data set of your own choosing. We'll dig into details probably in about a month or so, maybe 6 weeks, as we start to get into the course. And there'll be a proposal you'll do ahead of time so we can give you feedback before you have to put that final one together. So that's 30% of your grade. And then there's 2 exams that cumulatively account for 25%. Okay. Communication. So Slack. So when this slide deck gets up, but I think there's a link also on the website to join the Slack. That's going to be our primary means of communication. I have to say it was students about 2 years ago or so that suggested that we use this in lieu of Blackboard, because you can put it on your mobile device, you can put it on your computer. If you already have a job in data science, there's probably good likelihood you're already using Slack. And we have just found it really valuable as a way of trying to communicate in between the weekly meetups. There is also a general MSDS Slack channel that kind of spans, so anybody can join it. So if you can click it, it's been kind of quiet, but maybe some of you want to jump in and sort of build cohorts that can span across semesters. That would be great. If you find issues with the Data 606 package that I'll talk to in a minute, there's a link there. You can email us and schedule a time. If we can answer an email, great. But we're always happy to jump on a Zoom call too and kind of do screen sharing. Sometimes is really helpful, and we can do that anytime by appointment. So software, CUNY SPS does provide an RStudio server. So if you're having trouble getting it installed and you want to do the early assignments, you can use that. It's connected to the single sign-on, so you'll just use the same login that you do for Blackboard and everything else. But I really do recommend getting R&R Studio installed on your computer. You're going to use it a lot in this program. So worth the effort. There's a command to use the LaTeX. A lot of the assignments are in this package called Data 606. So you can install it from GitHub using this command. And then if you want to start a lab, there's a function called Start Lab. And there's lab 1, 2, 3. Like I said, I think there's a 5A and 5B. So that's the one you got to be careful about. And what that will do is copy the lab to your computer and open it for you to get started right away. So that's probably the easiest way to get started with the labs. It's all in there. There's a whole bunch of utility functions that I'm going to use throughout the semester to do various things, and some interactive Shiny apps that we're going to show that you can play around with to try to learn and understand some of these statistical concepts. So install the package, even if you're going to just use the lab directly off the website there, but there's a lot of kind of little things that we've put in there that will be useful. All right, so next step. So what should you be doing now? So before Monday, ideally before the end of the day, Monday, complete this Google form. Let me copy the link into, let me make sure I got the right semester here. I do. So, so you want to complete this formative assessment. As you can see, there's a little bit about your attitudes towards math, and then we want to know how familiar you are with some core concepts that will help us. I want you to do it by Monday because I would like to look at some of the results on Wednesday's lecture, and give me a minute to do it. Then you're going to go to the my.dex website. Of course, I'm probably already logged in. So when you come here, create an account, put your name in. If you could use your CUNY email address here, that would be ideal. That would help a lot. And then you're going to pick student. And once you create an account, all you need to do is complete the self-regulated learning assessment. You're going to see 4 assessments. Just do the SRL. It'd take you no more than 10 minutes to complete it. But when you're done, you're going to get some feedback. I really encourage you to look at that and then join the Slack channel. So if you could do that before Monday, you'd be in good shape before our meetup on Wednesday. And then try to start lab 1 so you can come to the meetup on Wednesday with questions if you're having issues. Otherwise, that's due February 6th. And then here's all the ways you can contact us. We have our email, our Slack channel, our GitHub links, our usernames. I'm on Twitter, although I'm more of a consumer and then a poster on Twitter, but I occasionally retweet things that I think are interesting. And then the course website. So Eddie's asking only one assessment. No, there's a midterm and there's a final exam, if that's what you mean. But in terms of the formative, there's this Google form and, oh, you mean in DAX? Yeah. So if you let me log in with one of my, oh boy, type too fast. So yeah, so there's 4 assessments in the DAX when you log in, but I only want you to do the self-regulated learning one. Yeah. If that's what you're asking, Eddie, I hope that answers your question. Other questions? Did I miss anything, Angela?
I don't think so. I wanted to emphasize the use of Slack. So that's a place for us to ask questions and all that, right? You also don't have to wait for us, Jason and I, to answer questions. If you know the answer, please answer them and just help each other out. That's a space for you to build the community.
By way of example, if you're on Windows, I think it's been resolved, but I think in the fall, there was a new version of R that was there was some feature misbehaving with the latest version of Windows. And we had some great students who were able to help each other out because I haven't used Windows in a long time. So my knowledge base there is a little limited, but yeah, we will, if we can't help, we'll find ways to help you out. And build, I think one of our goals is, use that as a way of building community. You're going to, look at the names in the list here when Wednesday, when hopefully more people are here, when you're on Slack, you're going to probably be seeing each other quite a bit for the next, year and a half to 2 years, or maybe, depending on how long you want to take to go through the program, but 2 years, if you're going to do 2 courses a semester in here, where we don't, encourage group projects. I think for the data project, if you wanted to do something as a pair, we're open to it. But being an online institution and coordinating group projects is a little bit difficult, but some instructors will, you're going to do some meaty projects later on, and working in a group is going to be necessary. So get to know each other now, and I think that'd be great. Questions, you feel free to unmute if you have them, throw them in the chat.
Any guidelines for creating channels in the Slack?
Just keep it appropriate. I don't know. That's a good question. I usually just always post in the general, but if you want to, I think there's a random there too, if you want. If I'm going to let you guys kind of own that a little bit. If you prefer to kind of make a chapter 1 channel, a chapter 2, that I could see organizing it that way. But I think just throwing things in the general and then using the threading capability so you can reply to something, I think it kind of gets organized well. But I would consider myself a novice Slack user. I don't have a lot of plugins. In fact, I think Zoom is the only plugin I've configured there. Because I know there's lots of fancy things. So if there's things you like to do, teach us, and
Yeah.
we're happy to do that. Other questions? Okay, so creating a DAX account. So
Real quick, sorry. I just tried to log into Slack and I entered the SPS email, but the response and it says no account found. So am I
oh,
supposed to-
so yeah, I think what you need to do is oh, is it Spring Data 606? Is it .net or .com? It's .net, isn't it? Nope. I already forgot. Okay, I must have typed the wrong link. Let me go back. Oh, it's here it is. Oh, I did it backwards. I might be already logged in, but usually it just asks you to send a magic link. Let me see if I sign out. What happens? Oh yeah, this won't. Yeah, you have to do this. Don't have an account, so create an account. And so I think, yeah, if you enter either of these email addresses, it should just let you in. So I that's a good question. I'll have to modify the slide deck to, Slack isn't connected with the single sign-on with CUNY. It's sort of our unofficial communication channel. So yeah, a good question. Same with DAX is not connected with CUNY's single sign-on. Hopefully, maybe by the fall, we're working on that. We've been talking to them, some folks there. So thank you for mentioning that. Create an account. Don't try to log in. Probably the same thing for DAX. So here, when you create an account, you have to put, your name, email address. You're going to create a password and then select student role. And if that doesn't work, so somebody sent me a private message, reach out on Slack and maybe we can get on a Zoom and I can share your screen, or you can share your screen and we can see what the error is. Other questions? All right, well, if there's no other questions, have a fantastic weekend and we'll see folks that are on. So thanks for making the time on a Friday afternoon and we'll see you Wednesday night.
Thank
Take
you.
care, bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.